Alright, welcome back to Rickets Reef for the August 2020 140 gallon tank update. So not much has changed, it's just been a lot of letting the tank mature and grow. So let's go over what's happened, what I got going on in terms of system. Start off with the filtration and hardware. Still have my refugium here. My dosing, which is calc, alkalinity, and calcium, I am not using yet because my 20% water change weekly is keeping up with what my tank needs. I am testing actively, but I haven't had any big dips, so no need yet. My no-pox, DIY no-pox, which is basically half-strength no-pox, I wasn't dosing for 2 weeks, roughly 2.5, because I put new lines on and forgot to purge the line of air, but no adverse effects. I did see a little extra algae, but I also saw the tangs picking a lot more, so I didn't really see any difference. Those tangs are in Foxface are doing really good as a cleanup crew. I really want to get a bigger ATO, especially when thinking about doing vacation. That one only lasts right now about 2-3 days, depending on if we use the air conditioner, because that dries out the air, and we get cold winters, really cold winters, so that I lose that about every day in the winter, day and a half. Under the hood, nothing's changed really. Skimmer's still working good. It's the Coralbox D700 Plus, and it's working great. It had a little of a squeak on the pump, but I just needed to clean it. So I took it out and cleaned it, and that is the next big thing, is because it's really hard to get that skimmer out, because this is just a random tall tank that I grabbed off Kijiji, Craigslist kind of thing. So it's 16 by 16 by 40, so what's that, 40 gallon-ish, and there's also a foam pad underneath it which raises it 1.5 inches. So it's tall. It's really hard to get this skimmer base out. I have to basically walk it this way, dump water down here, and pull it out here. So I have actually connected with LFS, who has a contract with a local tank maker, and they're going to make me a new sump. I don't know, it'll be about a month or two before I get it, because other stuff is going on, but the new one is going to be 48 inches long as opposed to 40, 20 inches wide as opposed to 16, and 12 inches tall. So it's going to be shorter, 4 inches shorter, which should give me more than enough clearance to get that thing out, just regular out the side here. As well as it'll, it's longer, so the sections are going to be about the same. It's going to be, I'm going to move this one over a little bit, so the baffle filter will still be there in some form, probably a better form than the way it is now. It'll be a larger section here because this return pump section is going to shrink a bit, and then on the end here, the last 8 inches is going to be a refugium, so that's going to move down here, and then that will become a frag tank once I build the lights. So also in terms of equipment, filtration, life support, I've got new drivers. So I did order the new Meanwell drivers. I'm waiting for the PCBs to come, so that it'll be nice. It'll have their own Meanwell PCBs, and the drivers are just push-in. So once I rebuild the drivers, it'll still be working with the Reef Pi. Everything will be the same. It's just basically the driver box I'm replacing. If one of them ever pops, I can just pull out the driver and put in a new one. I'm currently using, I think they were about $1, just around $1. Really cheap, mass-produced Chinese cheap drivers that I could barely drive over 50% without worrying about having them pop. The new Meanwell, very nice quality. Again, much more expensive, so I'm going from $1.50 drivers to $7.50 drivers per string. So a considerable increase in cost, but not too bad. I need 12 of them for the display tank, and that should give me the ability to run my system at 100%, which is going to be more than enough light. Because right now I have enough light at 50%, roughly, at max. So 100%, I would never even drive them there, unless in the future I slowly ramp it up just to see how the tank responds, and maybe I'll get more growth or something like that. So yeah, also got enough drivers for my buddy. So he is very, sorry for the chair there, very close to getting his system set up. So he's ordered the tank, he's getting a 180. We'll probably do build videos on that one too, just for catalog and all that kind of stuff, and you guys might enjoy it. That's cool. But he's doing a 180. He's got a fish room, a whole big fish room, and we're going to build him LED panels. We'll probably video that and show how that goes, because these are great panels. Like, these panels are awesome, and for about 500 bucks Canadian, we're able to build him SPS Reef controllable, Wi-Fi controllable lights, and that's with backup LEDs, backup drivers, and backup power supply. So it's pretty amazing. I do have the Kessel on here, but right now it's not on because the tanks are it's just waking up now. This is early morning. Usually I do late at night. Today it's early morning. I put the Kessel now, it's like above here, and it shines this way. I might even move it more down to the side and just kind of, it's really cool effect. It's kind of like the sun. I've even dialed it more white, so when it's on, it's kind of like the sun is beaming into the tank, so it's pretty cool. Everything's responding well to the change in lights. I did up my lighting a bit, but then I noticed a bunch of corals were not liking it, so I've just dialed it back down. As for the corals, I moved all the frags onto the rockwork, so let's just kind of take a peek at some of these, and you'll have to excuse the zooming in and out. So this is a rainbow encrusting digi. Now I've had quite a lot of growth in the last month, surprisingly. So this new frag, and they're new frags too, so they're not even settled in yet. So there was like a big inch gap between those two pieces, and they have since come together and have now working their way out. There's just a random smooth skin acro, red digi. There is acros and digi all over the place. This is a green branching digi, which I also have some over here now from that guy. I'm pretty sure they're the same species. So this is like one of the first corals I had that almost died a few times, and now it's doing great. It's got great new incrustation and branches growing on the bottom there, and then there's a tiny little frag that fell off and got lodged in the rock there on the left, and that's growing out too. Here's some random acros. I will get some names of some of these from the guy I bought them from eventually, but they're all growing. They came from a tank that crashed out, and they've all pretty much healed, except for a couple, which were sort of my fault, and I'll get to those in a second. Here's a rainbow millie. I'm really excited for that one. Now I've got pieces of every frag, multiple pieces of every frag throughout the tank, so just in case some of them dies or don't like the light, I have backups, redundancy within this tank for the most part. Some of them I don't. There's that Ponap bird's nest. It's really cool. Here's some Starburst Monty Cap, and there's some Starburst Monty Cap. So here's a red Naughty Monty Cap. Now this thing's grown crazy. So there was a big gap between that big plate and the ones on the left, and now it's grown together and growing all sorts of weird. Stella's doing nice. So all the frags are pretty much encrusting on the plugs and doing well. The one frag that my candy cane's splitting, so I'm about to get a new head. Two frags I had problems with. So I've got this acro, sorry for the zooming, one sec. Acro Horona. It's a blue purpley flesh with white polyps. It's gorgeous, but for some reason 2 out of the 4 frags of it kind of just started shredding. No idea why. No idea why only 2 out of the 4. It was about the same time I was having some, the A cans weren't looking so hot. Something was going on in the tank. I couldn't pinpoint it, but it stopped. Maybe it was a pH swing that these ones didn't like. This one's sort of healing. One of them I totally lost, I was pretty sure. And this one had problems. So there's a frag of this here, there's a frag of this here, there's a frag of it here. Now that's a worldwide coral Terra Red. I was really excited for that coral, and then I saw what I thought might have been bugs on it. Like, it weren't black bugs, weren't red bugs. I don't know. I didn't know what they were. There was a lot of them, and there were no polyp extension. It was looking rough, so I decided to dip it and revive and refrag it. And so I did that, but I dipped it in probably like 500 times the concentration I should have, and the skin shredded and came off. So I was worried. Now this actually produced an important lesson. So because it was probably the most expensive frag I had in terms of replacement, I got it from that guy who was having tank problems. Now if I were to buy that frag new, I think they're about 120 bucks Canadian. So I really wanted to save it, even though I thought I killed it. I put it back in the tank, and I saw a couple dots where polyps were, and I was like, oh, well, maybe there's something there. And then I waited a week, nothing changed. It was still kind of white and dying or dead. And then I saw some color coming back, and I was like, is that algae or is that flesh? And so after about 2 weeks, I started seeing flesh grow back onto the skeleton. And then this is about 3 weeks. 3 weeks from just a pure skeleton. It's gone back. It's got the green coming back on the tips. It's got the red coming back. And yeah. So I have learned not to throw out things I thought or think are dead. The other one that taught me that lesson was, where is he? So there's a blue cap there. He's doing good. There. That one's really hard to see. So it is a forest fire digifrag. That's the one that had like 3 polyps. And now it's growing into a stem. So yeah. Never throw out a coral until it's completely encrusted with algae, because it may come back. That is my lesson for this week. But yeah, things are moving forward. Fish are all doing fine. Corals are growing. Tank is maturing. Some new beneficial changes coming. I am a little worried about replacing the sump, because that's a pretty big event in terms of bacteria. It could cause a, I don't know, a little cycle or something, but should be okay. Because all the biological filtration, for the most part, isn't going to be touched. So I'll just have to feed pretty sparingly during that time, just so I don't create any kind of spikes as the sump glass develops its own bacteria film. But yeah, that'll be a few months away. Still waiting for some stuff for the lights, but once all that's done and comes in, I'll be throwing up some more videos of that. Any comments, questions, always welcome. Later.